Welcome back to the home stretch and to the third and final day of the series we have come to call Experience, Strength, and Hope. I'm your host, Mike Majuk, and we are talking with Eric Regan and Ryan Parmeter. So far, they have shared with us their powerful stories of their struggles with addiction. They've shared with us stories of hope. They've educated us on this terrible disease that affects all Indiana communities. And we've been talking about something very special they are starting up called the Fourth Dimension Recovery Home, a symbol of hope for the addict that wants to change their life. So without further ado, let's continue our conversation by picking up where we left off yesterday. We were discussing some of the requirements of a potential member of the household and what is expected of them. So let me welcome you guys back, and let's continue our conversation. First off, how long will they be able to stay with you guys?
We're going for a 6-month recommended recovery program, but they can stay longer after that.
So it's just kind of if you feel that there's a need for them to stay longer, then they're going to stay longer.
Yeah, or if they don't feel that they're ready to go back out and find their own place to live or whatever, if they're comfortable there, each case is going to be probably different.
What are some of the challenges of opening up the recovery home in your community?
Really, challenge in opening a new home is stigma that follows addicts and alcoholics. You know, we find a home that we turn into this recovery home, and the neighbors are not going to be too excited about us at first.
Yeah, I can
You
imagine.
know, that's something that we got to overcome.
And that's part of the stigma. They're not going to be very excited about a bunch of drug addicts moving in next door.
Right.
So,
Well, it's better than being a meth house or, a crack house.
I mean, these are people that want to improve themselves, and I think that's something to keep in mind for those that are living next to the recovery home.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I can sit here all day and tell you that we're going to be awesome neighbors, but we're going to have to be given that opportunity to show them. I can tell you something all day long, but until I show you, you're not going to believe it.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, I look at my recovery, and I'm sure you guys can remember when you were early on in your recovery, and you're not completely yourself yet. You're still kind of getting it all back upstairs. There is a thing called post-acute withdrawal syndrome, pause, and I know we're not doctors here, but that can take place for the first year of somebody recovering?
Sometimes longer.
Sometimes longer, where they're kind of getting it all back together cognitively, and some say that I'm still in the pause stage.
I've experienced this, and really, so people around me, they almost thought that I'd relapsed, that I was using again, but in reality, that's not what it was. It was actually the post-acute withdrawal syndromes that I was experiencing. And, I only experienced it for like a day or so, that was really noticeable.
Right.
But, it sucked. It did.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
I think everybody now in today's society, especially here in Grant County, we're all affected by drug addiction in some way or another, whether it be themselves, a family member, a close friend, somebody everybody knows somebody. Can you share with us some statistics with just how bad the drug addiction problem has become in Cass County?
Nearly everyone has a family member, someone close to them that's been affected by this thing. I know that there was 10 overdose deaths in Cass County last year.
Man.
But that doesn't count the people that didn't die directly of an overdose, whether it be car accidents, just not taking care of yourself, and dying of other causes. There's just so many ways for this disease to kill you.
It has become a problem. I mean, I remember, was it a year ago or something? President Trump had declared a national emergency for the opioid epidemic.
Yes,
So,
and I do believe there was 72,000 overdose deaths last year alone in the United States.
That's way too many. And, but there's people like you guys out there that are doing something about it. And thank God for you. Now I think many of our listeners, and I think this is very important to discuss, many of our listeners probably have in their heads a picture of someone they might think to be a drug addict, right? But drug addiction does not discriminate, does it?
Absolutely not. I mean, most people to look at me wouldn't think that I was an addict. I don't fit the...
You look very nice.
Well, thank you very much. I try really hard.
Yep.
Well, it's crazy. When I was in treatment, I was in treatment with a neurosurgeon, airline pilot, professional baseball player, musicians, actors. There's a lot of people in the recovery community that you would never believe were recovering addicts.
Right.
I know several doctors. I know a few attorneys. yeah, it reaches anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what your profession is, or what you look like.
And I think it's very important for us to break the stigma of this being a moral failing. I do believe that we are good people trying to get better.
Absolutely.
Not bad people.
Right.
And I think a lot of people forget about that and try to associate it with crime. A lot of times addicts do things in their active addiction that they normally wouldn't do when they're clean.
Well, I think it changes the chemicals in an addict's brain, obviously. It changes you. It takes you so far away from your true self that you're not you anymore.
But there is no discrimination in this disease. I think sometimes people picture an addict like somebody who's laying on the street corner, and that's just not true.
Right.
In fact, a lot of addicts remain functioning for a lot of years and hold jobs for a long time. I was one of them. I worked in a factory for 10 years. I used every day. And it got to the point where I couldn't function anymore. Then that's when it started really going downhill.
So someone who is out there stumbled upon our station. Now, we kind of discussed this a little bit the first day we had you guys on, but someone who's struggling with addiction, what would you like to say to them?
I know it's hard to ask for help, but I think asking for help is very important.
And I know when I was an addict, and maybe I'm speaking for the listener a little here, they're saying to themselves that nobody could have possibly had what happened to me happen to them. But you guys, as you shared earlier, you have a pretty amazing story. I mean, you guys hit very low points in your life, and you've been through an incredible amount. So for the addict that might be listening out there that says, you don't know what it's like to be me, pretty much, what would you like to say to that?
We always think we're worse than everybody else.
Right.
Or maybe even there's a couple we're not quite as bad as, but either way, we're not going to have anything in common. And the first time I come into a recovery program, that's the thing I noticed. I heard my story over and over again. It didn't matter. Different backgrounds, it didn't matter. What's similar was the way using made us feel in the end.
Right. Yeah, we don't focus on our differences here. We try and focus on what we have in common and what our similarities are.
Absolutely. I mean, because we could find a lot of things that are not alike about us. Like, for instance, I'm a Sox fan. Ryan's is a Cubs fan.
Go Yankees.
Yeah, and Eric's I wish you wouldn't have said that. Eric's a Yankees
Edit
fan.
that out.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out. But, yeah, I mean, but we all share that in common. We have more in common than you would think, as you said, as we start telling our stories. Okay, so your mission statement, recovery is a family thing. Now tell us what that means to you.
Addiction's a family disease as well. It impacts everyone around us in a negative manner. So at Fourth Dimension Recovery Homes, we're promoting like a family atmosphere within our home. I think it's very important to become a part of something instead of setting ourselves apart from something. Because I know for me, a big part of my disease is isolation. I like to set myself to the side, away from everybody else.
And I think it's important to know that, like, I didn't think this in my active addiction, but when I was using, everyone around me was affected by it. I like to think while I was using that I'm not hurting anyone else, I'm only hurting myself. But that's not true. We put our families through a lot when we're out there using. And the opposite is true about recovery. When I'm in recovery and I'm benefiting from this, the people around me also get to benefit from it. You know, I get to show them something. And it's an action thing for me. It's not about telling them things anymore because, you know, I told them over and over and over again how sorry I was and that I was going to change.
Right.
And they were sick of hearing that story. So I had to do some action. And in doing so, they've been able to grow alongside of me. And even a brother of mine told me that I helped grow his faith in Christ. And that
that's awesome.
Yeah, I know, it's great, isn't it?
That's a great thing to
you
hear.
know, the fact that I was able to find God through all of this and turn my life over to Him, has helped his faith grow as well. So, like I said, everyone benefits from it. It's an awesome thing. It's not just my family either. It's my neighbor, my coworkers, anyone that I come in contact with. It's an awesome thing, man, and it feels really good.
Well, I can see the passion, the love of Christ coming through your eyes and your voice, and it's amazing. Okay, and are you guys all set to open the doors?
We are not quite there yet. We are a non-for-profit startup. We're in this to help people. We're not in this to make money.
Right.
And it's a process, and it was really out of our realm. We had a great idea sitting around, a couple addicts sitting around thinking how cool it'd be just to go rent a house and turn it into this. Well, come to find out it's not that easy. So we've got some other people in this with us that really have put in the majority of the work, honestly. And, we are getting there. We've got the community involved, and they have our backs on this. They agree that it's necessary. So we're close. We're working on locating a home. Hopefully it's going to be donated. We've reached out to the local government and expressed what we're trying to do, and they seem to have our backs in this.
That's great.
Yeah.
In the beginning, last October, we were just going to rent a house and start filling it with addicts.
Wrong.
Hey, that's addict behavior in
Right.
and of itself.
Right.
So,
Let's go the easier route. Right?
what we figured out that starting up a non-for-profit, it takes time.
Sure.
And
And
we're
work.
trying to do everything the right way. There's guidelines we got to meet, people in the community, which this has been amazing. Some of the stuff that's happened within our community and the support that we have received in starting this up is just nothing short of amazing. And I believe this is a community effort. There's an awareness that we need to do more. And I think as long as everybody keeps an open mind and understands the needs, I think we can do amazing things within our community.
Yeah, we started out with a few addicts here, and then we've gotten some professionals and added them to our board, and in doing that, it's definitely coming together a lot quicker.
So what else needs to be done? Is that a difficult question?
No, not really. We need someone to donate a house. That's all.
That's a small price. to
Yeah,
ask.
sure. Give us your house,
Yeah,
please.
can we just have a house? Just come on, hand it over. All right. And how big of a part has God played in all of this, getting you this far?
I've given every gift that's been given to me has come to me by the grace of God. So from my sobriety to sponsorship to this being able to come to fruition, it's all God working in my life, or our lives, I should say. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but He's given me this passion. It didn't come on my own.
Right.
I have to give all the glory to God.
I believe nothing's possible without God. If this thing's going to work, it's God's will. If it doesn't work, it's not God's will.
Yeah, anytime I try and take God out of the equation, nothing good comes of it.
It doesn't work out.
Absolutely not.
Gratitude's very important for addicts, and I believe human beings in general. At the top of my gratitude list every day is God's grace and mercy.
Something that we can all use, really. I mean, a lot of the things we learn as addicts in recovery can be very beneficial for just an everyday person. I'm almost thankful to be an addict in recovery.
Oh, I'm absolutely grateful that I'm an addict.
It's my greatest gift.
Right, because it teaches us how to live.
I never would have found the 12 steps without it. I don't know that I would have found God without it.
Right.
So I live a life today that, is filled with God, and it's only because of my addiction.
Okay, so like anything else, this requires money. And you guys haven't reached your goal in terms of money to open the house up yet, correct?
No. Probably the most important thing we figured out since last October, this is a community effort. We need all the help we can get.
If someone wishes to donate, first off, where can they make that donation?
4drh.org, and there's a link to our GoFundMe page there.
Okay, and don't worry, we're also going to have a link set up on 94.3, the Fortress Facebook page. It'll take you right to that link so you guys can join in doing God's will and help start that up. So please, please, please do what you can, give what you can. Even if it's just $1. Just think, if everyone gave $1, there'd be a lot of dollars there. I'm just saying. So
Yeah, we're grateful for any and all donations. And the money is going to be used to directly get the doors open. There's a lot of things that are going to need to happen. Like once we do get the home, we're going to need bedding. We're going to need dressers. We're going to need, a washer, a dryer, refrigerator. A lot of these items I'm sure are going to be donated, but not everything is going to be able to be donated.
And this is doing God's work. You're giving money to helping people recover and grow closer to God, doing God's work right here. I love it. It's absolutely amazing. And this is a way you can directly do that and see the fruit of God's work. It's just amazing. Now, we talked about where people can donate. So remember, check out our Facebook page. There will be a link there. It's 40rh.org, a GoFundMe link as well. And anything else you guys would like to add today?
If I could add anything else, I guess it would be that, I definitely feel that we are doing God's work here. He came into my life and he freed me from my addiction. And since then, he's put it in my heart to continually do his work in the recovery community and to work on this non-for-profit recovery home that we're working on. Like I said, I'm not doing it for money. I don't want to do this as a job. I have a job, and I use this to spread God's word.
Eric?
I think this would just be an amazing resource for our community, and it's such a necessity. And we hear that a lot. Everyone knows there's a growing need for this, but it's going to be a community effort to make it happen.
And it's time for all of us to realize how bad drug addiction is affecting us. I think for a long time, it's one of those problems that people would like to ignore and kind of shove back in that dark closet in the corner, and just forget about it. But it's in our faces now, guys. We can't ignore this problem anymore. So now it's time for us to be part of the solution. And thank you for coming on, guys. So glad you've been here all week, camping out in the studio, as I said. You're hardcore. I love it. And thanks for being on.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
We've been talking with Ryan Parmeter and Eric Regan, and they are doing God's work in Cass County and hoping to spread that love everywhere else. Be sure to donate towards their recovery home and help them spread God's love by sharing their experience, strength, and hope. You guys did great. You've been listening to Eric and Ryan. Stay tuned for more of the top Christian hits that you love right here on the home stretch. Don't go anywhere. Keep your radio stuck right here on 94.3 The Fortress, creating community.